Hello everyone, Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. How are you all today as we head into the weekend? Of course, the big news this week was the Circuit Court, the Circuit Court of Appeals. Three judges ruled in the Flynn case. One was a Trump appointee, or two of them were Trump appointees, very, very conservative judges, and they found that Judge Sullivan had no right to not dismiss the charges. Judge Sullivan now in the Flynn case has just halted all proceedings. We don't know what he's going to do next. There are a number of things that could happen, and for a good analysis on that, watch Glenn Kirshner, a former US attorney. Yes, I do watch Glenn Kirshner. I have watched him for years on Twitter, and of course since he started his YouTube channel. So go there and see what sort of the legal aspects, but I'm here to do the tarot. So let's have a look at what that judge might do and which way he might go. Of course, he could dismiss it without prejudice, which means that it could come back under a different regime. Or, the other option is it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. So, firstly goes before the full Court of Appeals, and then if they don't like that answer, if Flynn doesn't like that answer, then he's got the option, of course, of taking it to the Supreme Court. So let's have a look at what Judge Sullivan might do. Let me just tune in for a minute and just see if I can tune into Judge Sullivan's energy. It is a highly politicised case, isn't it? It's probably one that's going to be used as an example historically as for the politicisation of the Department of Justice under Donald Trump. Let me see, Judge Sullivan, he's very aware of that as well. He wants to make this mark in history. I'm just seeing someone walking with files and files and files and briefs and briefs and briefs. So I'm thinking it might go to the full Court of Appeals next. But let's see. What is Judge Sullivan in the matter of Flynn? What is he going to do? Is he going to stay? Is he going to dismiss it without prejudice, or is he going to come back? And are we going to go to the full Court of Appeals? What is Judge Sullivan going to do? Is he going to take it to the full Court of Appeals? I feel he's going to defend it. That was my idea when I saw all those briefs. I feel that that is the Seven of Wands. That is the card of defence. He might defend that. And so, of course, it could go then to the full Court of Appeals. Let's have a look. Will Judge Sullivan take it to the full Court of Appeals? So we've got the Star, and the Star always comes forward and gives us hope. So I feel that that's a kind of validation that it probably will go to that full Court of Appeals. The challenge, of course, is the past. That's an interesting card. Not so much a challenge even, but of course, keeping hope alive, regardless of what has happened in the past. Four of Cups is the foundation of the reading. He is very disappointed in the ruling of that smaller Circuit Court of Appeals. Very disappointed. This is somebody that sees this as them having made the wrong decision, perhaps stepped outside of their jurisdiction. The Ten of Swords, I do feel that they, I don't want to, accuse the Trump-appointed judges of not being fair, but I do feel that Judge Sullivan has been put into a situation where instead of justice being done with General Flynn, or Flynn, we'll just call him Flynn, they've gone after the actual judge. In the Sky, we've got suspension here. So this could be his staying all proceedings. That's an interesting move from this judge. The Hanged Man, the Three of Wands. This is a waiting period, a waiting time for a ship to come in. Let's keep going. In the here and now, we've got lies and deceit. So I feel that this is just, more of this, bar stepping in, corrupting, attempting to corrupt, thwart justice. And of course, there's some lies here. Now, that's interesting because it may be Flynn's perjury as well to the FBI, or there's something around Flynn lying that will be an important matter in this case. The Three of Pentacles, this is, of course, could be working with overseas donations, money. Of course, he lied. What did he lie about? Talking about lifting sanctions. That is really the reason why this judge does not want to let this go. It's because Flynn was actively engaged in talking with the Russians about lifting sanctions. I think it was during the transition period, and then he lied about it. And this judge doesn't want to let that go. The Seven of Pentacles in the hopes and fears, I think he is hoping that the whole thing will be reviewed. This is the card of something not coming to fruition, and so you go back to the drawing board. I think he's hoping for that full court of appeals to hear this matter. So I feel with this Wheel of Fortune, again, another yes card along with the Star of Hope. I do feel that he is wanting something to shift. This could be why he's assessing his options. He's wanting to see something shift. I wonder what he's waiting for. Well, of course, it is the election, the Ten of Cups. He is acting on behalf of the people, but he also feels that he's up against partisanship as well. Now, this judge, I think, was appointed by the Republicans himself, Judge Sullivan. So he's looking at this and seeing partisanship now coming into it, both via the DOJ and, of course, now that smaller circuit court of appeals. He's not going. I don't think he's going to let go of this. We've got the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles, who is a slower moving knight, but it's also a foreign agent. And this is the question around Flynn, the other aspect of this. We do have a coming together, which tells me that the full court of appeals may see things a different way. We've got justice, and we do have the King of Pentacles. So, which of course is my card for Trump. He's always in the middle of all these readings. Let's have a look at whether or not, so let's assume Judge Sullivan, what I'm picking up, I hope I'm right, may take that toward the full court of appeals. He's not going to let go. He's got a really dim view of what Flynn has done. And now he's even more determined because of the DOJ, that Five of Wands, which is the partisanship, trying to put obstacles and challenges in the way of justice. So I'm assuming that my cards are telling me that he is going to take it to the full court of appeals. Let's see how they're going to rule. Show me let's give this a bit of a shuffle. How is that full court of appeal going to rule? Assuming that it goes that far, how is... Very difficult shuffling this morning. This is a very thick deck, by the way. It's the Modern Witch Tarot deck. Let me just hold that up for you. The Modern Witch Tarot deck. Okay. The stock... Oh, pardon me. There goes the crystal. The stock of the cards is very thick. All right. So let's have a look at... that court of... Okay, so we've got whistleblowers, spies in the camp. That probably sums up Flynn very well. I think that's what Judge Sullivan called him. His reputation is on the line as well because of his statements in the past. He can't let this go. He just can't let this go. So what's the full court of appeals going to... How are they going to decide? Will the full court of appeals uphold and back Judge Sullivan continuing to sentence Flynn. Will the full Court of Appeals uphold Judge Sullivan's autonomy and right to keep going with sentencing Michael Flynn despite the DOJ? Full Court of Appeals. I feel they're going to get behind him. We've got the Six of Swords here. This is a healing. It's a relocation. It's a moving on. Now, that's an interesting signifier card. Challenged by secrets. Okay, the High Priestess. Something that we're not aware of yet. Some kind of communication that we're not aware of yet. Of course, we haven't seen the full Mueller report either, have we? We've got circles of support here, which is telling me the full Court of Appeals is probably going to get behind Judge Sullivan. We have Trump in the past, the Emperor, trying to control things. They're taking a dim view of this. Do I need any more clarification from Spirit? The Ace of Swords, clarity and the truth. So I'm feeling the full court will. And we've got the Eight of Cups, turning away from something that is no longer serving us with the Ace of Swords in the sky. We've got strength and endurance here. I think this will be decided by the law, and the law is the environment around strength and endurance is it's this harsh truth, but it's also the spy in the camp, which of course is the way that Judge Sullivan spoke about Flynn. In the fear position, hopes and fears, we've got this abuse of power, this Five of Swords. Victory. I'm feeling that the full Court of Appeal will rule in favour of Judge Sullivan. They're just not going to allow this to happen. That's interesting. Look at these cards, future. So we do have the Ace of Swords. We do have the truth. We do have victory here, the Six of Wands. And we do have this Star of Hope, which appeared in Judge Sullivan's earlier reading. Look, I think it's not going to take too long, but this is generally the environment around. Lots of things coming out. The other aspect of this is lots more people coming forward. We're kind of reaching this tipping point. This kind of, people are just not going to hold back anymore. When they see this injustice, they're just going to come forward here. But this is also the Trump's financials are coming back into this reading. And we do have the Hierophant, the government. So having to make choices, I feel. So we've got Judge Sullivan, and then we've got Trump's financials. And we've got this Tower card here. Not looking good. Not looking good for Trump. My readings never look good for Trump. So here is what I think will happen. I think that judge is not going to let go. I think he's going to take it to the full Court of Appeals, or someone is. Many people might become involved now. And I feel that the full court will uphold Judge Sullivan's rulings. However, what then happens is it goes before the court, and then we probably won't know or learn anything, the Supreme Court, before the November 3rd election, 2020 election. Okay, so that's how I see it. The Wheel of Fortune is there. This is a case that, as I said, will go in the history books. It was almost meant to happen this way, to put a huge underline underneath this in terms of justice and the rule of law, and how the US reacted when the rule of law was being tampered with. Now, I want to go to Trump now, because I've heard people say we've all seen the photos, walking around looking dispirited, disheartened, particularly after the flop of a rally in Tulsa. But I've heard commentators say so far behind in the polls, does he even want to win? Because he's not changing his behaviour. He must know that, I mean, it just doesn't make good political strategy. If you're that far behind in the polls, wouldn't you try and win people over? But just is not making any attempt. So I want to see, does he actually want to be president, or would he rather be doing something else? So let's just tune back in. We'll give the deck a cut, tune back into spirit, and let's just see. Let's just see. He just can't, I mean, at every turn someone is coming forward. He has no loyalty, very little loyalty, other than those aiding and abetting his appalling performance and his appalling behaviour, because the US is slipping back in to coronavirus numbers that are, possibly as bad as a couple of months ago. And there's just no leadership on this. Does he even want to be president? So I'm getting the Six of Swords, which again flavours my readings on Trump, that, there is this need or wanting to move on and move away, relocate, move on from trouble. I think that's how he is feeling. Does Trump want to be president? I'm feeling no, he doesn't. But he does not want to give up the power. And it's really underscoring the Six of Swords. So watch him try and leave the White House as much as he can between now and November. This is what all that's aimed at, making him feel better. I don't think he feels, he just doesn't feel, he's feeling the loss of power. And when he goes away, he's doing everything he can, off to Bedminster and playing golf, having his sycophants around him, off back to Florida, back to Mar-a-Lago, off to rallies. He'll do whatever he can to make himself feel better, because he is not feeling he's not feeling in his elements. So does Trump want to be president? Does Trump want to be president? So we've got a waiting game. This is playing a waiting game. What's he waiting for? The Three of Cups is in the challenge position. So what is challenging him is he doesn't have this support. He doesn't feel like he has this circle of support around him. And the Two of Wands, of course, is waiting for something to happen. Does he know what's going to happen? We've got the Three of Wands here, which of course is his shadow foreign policy, which is at the foundation of the reading. Is he expecting, does he know already what's coming down the pike for him? Look at this card here, the Nine of Swords. Very, very sleepless nights. This is why I think he wants to leave the White House, to get away, because he's just not sleeping at night. He could be pacing. So I'm getting him pacing. When someone is stressed, they will do that. When there's a lot of tension, they will pace to try and walk it out, sometimes even walking in circles. So I do feel his level of anxiety is very, very high. He wants a new start. The Ace of Wands is in the sky, is crowning this reading. He wants to start again. The immediate future is the Ten of Swords. So this is how he feels. This card has been coming up since March. We all, thought this might be the Ides of March. He is expecting people to turn against him. As his polls tank, he knows, Trump is a wheeler and a dealer, not a very successful one before you leave that comment. But he does know when the tide has turned against him. I think he's worried about the senators turning against him. He's unwell. How many times do I have to bring this card forward? It's so frustrating, because the Four of Swords is retreat. Retreat to where? Retreat to the bed, retreat to illness. This man is unwell. let's have a look at what's around. He is worried about whistleblowers. He's worried about the truth coming out with the Page of Swords. So, look, yeah, it's almost like he understands what's coming for him. The hopes and fears it's hiding that money trail. The Eight of Pentacles in the outcome. This is work, but it's also my card for how Trump made his money. Let's keep going. In the past, how he made it in the past is the outcome of this reading. And things coming forward very, very quickly with the Chariot. That's interesting because look what we've got on the bottom of the deck. The Ace of Swords, the Justice card, the Tower, and the Six of Pentacles, loans and debts. These are at the base of the deck. This is what's bothering him. He knows what's coming down the pike for him. In another way, he wants to go. I don't think he's making. I think that his fortunes have taken a tumble. The money that he was making in the past, he is not making now. And I feel that's also weighing on his mind. So I do feel he's losing money. I do feel he's worried about those senators turning against him as they realise that they could lose the House, the Senate and the presidency. And he's so incredibly anxious, and this is taking its toll on his health. So the foundation of the reading has always been from 2016 onwards, who he is connected to, his foreign policy, what are his ties to overseas countries, what kind of commerce has he done with them. But really I see he just doesn't feel like he's got the support that he needs to. And this is causing him to just kind of think, is this all worth it? I think he knows that ultimately all of this is going to be revealed. I think he knows this. Let's ask that question and then I'll finish this reading. Does Trump know that his financials will become, does Trump know that his past is going to become public? That his past, including his financial dealings, does Trump know that his past financial dealings will become public? Does Trump know? So I'm seeing him in bed and he's actually signing something. I don't know what that is. Does Trump know? Does Trump know that his financials will become public? Is this what is causing him so much anxiety? He just knows it's an inevitability. Yeah, I feel he is. I feel somebody has told him that too. Queen of Wands, we do have this movement. Someone has told him that unless he does something differently, of course, he will lose the election. That's already been told to him. They also have told him that it's... possible that this, the Knight of Wands is my card for investigation in the House. This is the Democratic Party. They're going to come at him. Got the Seven of Swords, but it's come out reverse. Lies and deceit in the foundation could be revealed. In the past, we've got the Hanged Man, of course, trying to hold things back. Let's see what's crowning. There is this whistleblower, this truth coming out, the Page of Swords. The Queen of Cups again, Revelations. Some of these older cards are returning. The King of Swords is the investigator. What he knows is that there are investigations also that could cause him to come undone. We've got the Democrats, but we've also got more than the Democrats. This is the community. He's virtually got, apart from his cultish base, which is dwindling. He's just got a majority against him, and he knows what will happen when that occurs, because we've got the Three of Swords in the fear position, loss, betrayal, and we've got the Fool, new starts. So let's have a look. The Five of Pentacles, money loss, being left out in the cold and trying to juggle money. Not a good future for Donald Trump. And the Ten of Swords in this deck it says everything is fine. It's such a horrible card that the developer of the deck wanted to make people feel better. He's hoping that everything will be fine. Yeah, we do have the High Priestess. Something will be revealed around his money. He knows that. He knows that. And he knows that people are going to be very highly emotional. And we've got justice on the doorstep. Why? We've got the greed and avarice. So, look, it's no wonder he doesn't want to be there, because I feel he's reached a point where he can't control things any longer. Whatever he does seems to backfire on him. All the while, the polls are just tanking, and they will keep going on that trajectory. I do also want to say that, there's no room for complacency here. I won't read on whether or not there will be foreign interference. I've done a lot of those readings. It's like if everybody comes out to vote, if there's this massive movement of people, if people don't get complacent, if they get fired up and come out, put their masks on and come out and vote, this movement will not, there's nothing that can stop this. There's nothing that can stop this. This card came before the midterms, and this is what we have again. And I feel that he's worried. He just can't stop that movement toward justice and toward getting rid of him. But I think he knows. I think he knows that ultimately those financials will be revealed. And he is very worried at this time about senators supporting him and his ability to keep controlling the narrative. So there you have today's reading. What Judge Sullivan may do, putting that line in the sand and digging in. And then we have Trump. I think, he may be wishing, if he isn't already, he may be wishing he never stood for the presidency. Because I am seeing a lot of money loss there for Donald Trump at the end of the day. A lot of money loss. Okay, and that Four of Swords. I don't want to undersell that. He is just not a well person, and in any other climate, someone like that would probably either be forced to resign or taken out of office in some way. But of course, those senators had their chance to remove him, and they didn't. And that's all going to play out on November the 3rd in the election. Readings in the past has shown it's likely that the Democratic Party may take that Senate. So interesting scenarios at the moment. But as I said, don't underestimate Trump, the Republicans, all that shadow foreign policy dealings, quid pro quo. Anyway, all right, that's the reading for today. Thank you for tuning in.